Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and our community. We are certainly excited about a great start as we are welcoming 17,385 students to our schools, and we're so excited about each and every one of them as we work to love and grow our students each and every day. In our superintendent's report, we open up with this story that I told at our kickoff. And by the way, just again, great credit to our communications team and all of our partners, business partners, to have a great kickoff. We told the story of a rejected stone that was transformed into a great work of art by an artist and scientist who understood that that within everything there's an opportunity for growth, and that was Michelangelo, who said, "I saw an angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free." When I look at the statement from Michelangelo, I see the system work that we have been talking about. I saw, which is the vision. I carved, which is our mission, and set him free, which are the outcomes. And it's the feedback loop that we have to make sure that we stay in line with that. What is our vision? Our vision is that we love and grow our students. What is our mission? Is that we stay focused on academic, social, and emotional growth and development. And the embodiment of this mission is through our umbrella, starting with physical safety and moving through educational needs. We know that in order to secure this umbrella, it takes people. And I want to thank our principals, our assistant principals, our HR department for working diligently to ensure that we staffed our schools so that we can service our students. And so we have looked at ways of how do you take care of the caretakers. We asked that question, how are the children? And immediately one of the questions back to me was, how are the staff? How are the teachers? How are the staff? And so you all, as a board, approved the salary study, and we want to give you an update on that salary study. So I'm going to ask at this time Dr. Turner, our Chief of Human Resources, come forward and give us an update on the salary study.
Good evening again, Chair Hammond, members of the board, and Dr. Ross. The district's salary study is underway by Evergreen Consultants, and the scope of the study is twofold. We're looking at our compensation structures that we have in place, and the second is to look at the classification system that we have in place. The goal is that at the conclusion of the salary study, we'll be able to present a recommendation that's tailored to meet the needs of the district. It will allow us to continue to recruit and retain. It will also reveal where we are in terms of market competitiveness. And we'll also have an opportunity to look at those recommendations and determine where adjustments need to be made. In terms of the timeline, we started the salary study in August, and the anticipated time to have that recommendation to the board, the preliminary recommendation, is actually December. And as a part of the project deliverable, what we're looking for is that final report. And again, you'll get the preliminary view of that report before we finalize it. We'll also have access to the company's database so that long-term we can continue to maintain the work being done by the salary study. We'll have updated job descriptions as well as updated classifications as well. Work that we've done to date. In August, we sent out communication to our employees introducing the salary study. We also asked participants who were interested in being a part of a district focus group to volunteer. We have a little under 200 employees from very different salary classes. I think we have groups from every range willing to participate in focus groups. And those focus groups will be both in person and virtual. Hopefully at a time convenient to the employees. Orientation video was sent out on September 7th, and we strongly encourage all of our employees to watch that so that they're prepared for the next part, which is a job assessment review. We will need our employee engagement in order to accurately capture that. And then following the data collection. That's when all that data is put together, and that report is made based on where we are in terms of the market. We'll continue to keep the board updated as we progress through the salary study. At this time, are there any questions, Dr. Ross, related to that?
Any questions on the salary study? Dr. Turner, maybe just for the history of it, what's the last time District 5 did a salary study?
2006 was the published date for the Archer study.
Thank you. That's what I thought. So I'm sure it's overdue.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I appreciate that. No other questions? Oh, yes, ma'am.
For the distribution of the job assessment questionnaires, I'm assuming that went to all staff. Did you have a good turn-in? Did a lot of people complete those?
It's forthcoming. The actual job assessment tool is explained in the orientation, so we wanted to give employees time to look at that first.
Okay.
The next part is the job assessment tool. I'll be watching and working with Evergreen to see what the turnover, what the submission rate is for that, because that is something we need active engagement in order to accurately capture exactly what our employees are doing in terms of the jobs.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, any other hands? How about Ms. Hines? You okay? Any questions?
I do not.
No questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Turner. And as we welcome our employees, all 2,600 of them, 1,432 teachers, we bring them into our facilities, and we want to make sure that we have them in a facility that they're able to love and grow our students. And so we're so excited to have Dave Wiseman as our Executive Director of Operations, as well as Mr. Knotts, Alan Knotts, who's here with our facilities. They have been tasked with the objective of establishing a strategic plan of facility maintenance and prioritization of our capital funding. They're looking at the 3.8 million total square feet that we have to maintain in our facilities. Everything from life safety, which includes our fire alarms, sprinklers, the 1,345 egress doors, making sure that we meet life safety codes so that we can get out, but also security so that we can prevent people from getting in. Our Americans with Disabilities code, making sure that our ramps and elevators and escalators are in working order. Safety and security measures, as we discussed, is an ongoing process with student services and planning. Looking at our utilities, the statistics of our water usage per day, gas, electricity, waste disposal, and other things. These are things that when they're going right, no one says anything. But as soon as they go wrong, we realize how important they are. One of the chief operational necessities is the 3,700 HVAC units that we have to maintain, in addition to the transition to LED, looking at our IT, the amount of people we have on our server each and every day. It's about 22,000 that we have to maintain at working speeds. All of our roof lines, grounds and athletic fields. And we serve over 2 million meals a day. We can go on and on about our stats. When I talk about just our bus fleet, we travel 1,900 miles a day. And if you look at that times 180 days, that's from Earth to the moon and a quarter way back, is how much we travel on these diesel buses at 5 miles to the gallon. So all of that just shows you just the weight of what it takes just to keep our schools running. We thank the facilities committee for meeting to help us work through this and come up with some suggestions. Some of the challenges that we're facing right now in terms of HVAC, you may have received calls and concerns from teachers. We want to let you know that we're working on it. We understand that these temporary classroom cooling modifications are not the District 5 standard. Mr. Wiseman and his staff have been working on assessments of that, so we're just kind of showing the public what those concerns are, and that these are not going to be permanent fixtures. Some of the issues that we have is the variety of units that we have specifically in HVAC. You have new model units that are working very well. We have mid-age units that are leaving their warranty. And then we have old model units, which we're very thankful are still running. This is an example of the configuration on one school. So this is one building that is serviced by all three of these different types. So when there's an issue or something goes out, trying to get parts, interchangeable parts, it becomes a struggle. So in our action item, we're going to take recommendations from that facilities committee, Madam Chair, members of the board, to help us. I would at this time like to just publicly thank our maintenance staff and our technicians. These are one of the schools that we honored today. They were on the roof changing the HVAC system to meet those needs. But if you think about your HVAC system in your house, if it goes out and it's 98 degrees, heat index, and 100, you want a technician to show up. The technician is the person who actually fixed the unit. You may do the maintenance. You may clean the filters. We have 3 technicians for 3,700 units. And so we do, and they're constantly working, but we know that that's unmaintainable. We have one maintenance, a preventative maintenance, to change the filters for 3,700 units, and a systems manager trying to keep organization of all of this. So in our presentation and action agenda, we'll be presenting a request for solicitation to bring us some help to get a systematic view of the HVAC system. So when we control the environment, we get an opportunity to look at the teaching and learning that goes on in our classrooms. And I'm going to ask Tina McCaskill, our Director of Elementary Education, to come forward and just talk about, we know we've heard some state trends on testing. I know we have been out of mandatory testing with COVID, and results are coming in, and I just ask that you kind of take us through what we're seeing in SC Pass and SC Ready. So, Ms. McCaskill.
Sure, thanks. Good evening. Thanks for letting me be here today to talk about instruction, the heart of what we do every single day, right? So when we look at our SC Pass results, know that SC Pass used to be social studies and science, but 2019, which was the COVID year, was the year that all changed. So we've got 2 years of just our science data here that you'll see, and only grades 4 and 6 take the science SC Pass test. So you'll see that you've got the state results and the district results from 2021 to 21-22. We're thankful to see that, yes, we are above the state average. So that's a celebration for us. There are some things for us to look at and dig into. Science standards have changed this year, but both grades 4 and 6 will remain with the old standards, because this year is the year that we'll continue with testing the old standards. So that gives a year to kind of see if we can come out of that COVID and see how that goes. So there will be some consistency this year for the testing for us to kind of see what our efforts might be. So next we have a 4-year trend for ELA, and you'll see again, you'll see the state and then the district, and you'll see from 2017 through the 21-22 school year. COVID had an impact for sure. Nobody can deny that at all. But when you look at it again, we're happy to say that we're above the state average, and that we're beginning to get back somewhat to where we were pre-COVID. So that's something for us to celebrate with ELA. You can look at it in terms of the 3 through 5 span and then the 6 through 8 span, and you'll see that we know that when it comes to literacy, as our kids get older and the importance of literacy to be able to understand the material and the content grows even greater. And so that's something for us to look at and talk about. When you look at math, we've got 4-year trends there. You've got the state and district. Again, you'll see that COVID has an impact. I think math and science go hand in hand here. When you think about conceptual and hands-on, and you had 2 years where you really couldn't do a lot of that because of spacing, and you had virtual environments, you had hybrid environments, you had some things like that going on. So I think those two things go hand in hand, and things that we have identified to look into even greater. And then you have the trend again from 3 through 5 and 6 through 8. And again, we'll celebrate above the state average. But data is what it is. It's what you do with data that's important. And so that's our job to really dig into. MAP testing is finalizing this week. We're just about to finish that, and that's the instructional piece that we get from data. This is like kind of the autopsy report, tells us what happened, and MAP tells us where to go to help individual kids. And so that's what we're excited about, looking at and really digging into with teachers and schools. So I'll stop there. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Huddle.
On that particular slide, one of the things that I think is interesting, and not in a good way, is that even before COVID, it seems like the 6th through 8th scores are lower than the 3 through 6. And just wondering, and I forget if that was true for the state as well, but why do we think that happens? And even prior to COVID, what are we doing to try to address that?
So currently, I can talk about currently, we are looking at how, first of all, there's a new curriculum for math. It's Envisions Math. That really looks at thinking techniques for students and strategies versus the skill and drill that when I sat in a classroom is what I did. And we don't ask for that anymore. So teaching our teachers how to teach in a way of thinking skills versus just here's the algorithm, do step 1, do step 2. It's just not that way anymore. That's not the way that the testing is presented to students. So that's one big piece. Dreambox Math is a software program that has great research behind it that has proven. We actually did some research of our own, looking at classrooms that used it last year. Their test scores look much higher than classrooms that didn't necessarily use it with fidelity. So there are some pieces that we are looking at and digging into that we think show positive gains for us.
Any other questions? I was going to ask, do we, you mentioned that we still do the MAP testing to see where kids are and where we need to go. At our middle school, we use STAR testing. Does any of District 5 do the STAR testing?
We don't. We use
But
MAP.
it does the same thing.
It's the same as a benchmark type
it's
assessment.
a benchmark. Yeah. Well, I think I'm excited because I know as a teacher the learning loss that I see with my own kids in middle school that was inevitable to happen. So I'm really proud of our teachers and our staff because I'm with you. We're ahead of the state, and that's great.
Absolutely, and our teachers are they're embracing this data. They're embracing, it's been refreshing. I go into schools and talk about the data and look at their MAP data with them. And it's just been refreshing to hear them talk about, so this tells us where we can go, we know what this child needs, and they're ready for a year that they know they can do this. So I'm excited for them and thankful for what they do.
That's great. And I'm going to give the shout out to Ms. McCaskill. I know the fine work she did when she was a principal. And then the elementary teachers and principals are happy to have you in this position. I think I just want to give you a shout out.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
So I am very encouraged to see that we rebounded very quickly in ELA. But I think, I feel like in math builds on itself, and so I see that we haven't rebounded as quickly, but do we have strategies in place in these schools and with the teachers to, many kids lost almost a whole year of math, so are they teaching, fourth grader teachers teaching third grade curriculum? I mean, are they working on those kind of things?
We are. MTSS is a certainly an intervention program. I will use this moment to just say, we do a lot of emphasis on intervention with ELA. We provide interventionists in schools for ELA. We don't have that across the board for math. Our Title I schools do have math coaches and they do have interventionists, but not all schools. So we are in the process of helping teachers understand the intervention. Our Envision Math that I just talked about, the new curriculum, actually has an intervention toolkit that does just what you asked about. So it takes a 4th grade skill and scaffolds it down to help the teacher be able to pull directly from that to teach a lesson to help a child that's below grade level. All of that is part of professional development, though. Certainly something that is difficult. It's difficult to be in a 4th grade classroom when you've got a child that needs a 1st grade skill. So it is a management piece, for sure.
Thank you. Good question. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank you,
McCaskill.
Ms. McCaskill, and we certainly appreciate, I used to copy off of Ms. McCaskill's paper as a secondary person, so I know she does great and influence both elementary and secondary. Thank you for that, and we are also encouraged that we'll see more seat time this year than we did last year in terms of disruption and getting those missed skills in. As Ms. McCaskill says, the data is one thing, it's what you do with it that makes the difference. And we are looking at some data sets of what we can do in terms of parental engagement. We sent out a survey to all of our parents. We receive results about what they're interested in hearing from us in the administration in terms of school. And so the number one item was school safety. We are planning additional kind of parent engagement opportunities. Dr. Harris will speak a little bit about one that he has coming up in his department. But we want to look at these topics that have been selected by the parents. School safety was number one, followed by strategies and student achievement. So parents are looking for those strategies that we've outlined today that Ms. McCaskill and academics are talking about for our teachers. If you look at 3 and 4, you see social emotional development. We know the impacts of mental health. We know the impacts of mental illness, stress, anxiety of our students. And parents are looking for strategies to help their children with self-regulation, with coping, and all of these things, as well as bullying prevention and intervention. So we're going to tackle these 4 items. We have a parent advisory tomorrow with the superintendent's parent advisory to have a deeper look into these survey results and see what are those questions that we need to ask for parents based on their interests. So again, that feedback loop is important to the system of making sure that we have our parents and guardians engaged in the work that we do. So we look forward to, after we receive the report from and the input of our superintendent's parent advisory on these topics, to report back to the board and the community of how we will address these and share our strategies for success. And so on that vein, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Harris on one of our scheduled parent nights out. Dr. Harris.
Thank you, Dr. Ross, members of the board, general community, and certainly appreciate the segue in regard to our attempt to be responsible and responsive to the interest and the desires of our community, namely our parents, to provide what we have termed as recent as last year, Parents Night Out. As you recall, as a response to interest that parents had on last year, we did have 3 areas in particular that we focused on, 3 different topics in 3 different locations and during our Parents Night Out, those of alcohol and other drugs, bullying, and that of mental health. In a very similar kind of way this year, we'd like to continue that Parents Night Out effort and initiative. However, on Tuesday, October 25th, we will have one site with one topic so that we might be able to drill down just a little bit deeper in the conversation in this particular case regarding alcohol and other drugs. The other 2, bullying and that of mental health, will also follow at a different time. Again, we're going to have those periodically and intermittently throughout the course of the year. very similar to what we did on last year. So anticipate October, January, and later in April as well, as we did on last year. But this will prove to be a very highly interactive Parents' Night Out. Meeting with the team on this coming week, latter part of the week, to have conversations and actual walkthroughs of this particular presentation that will be made. So it will be far more than a sit and get kind of concept. It will be fairly interactive for both our students as well as a separate time frame or separate location for our parents. So I wanted to make that known to you. The information specific to that is here. We have kind of moved up in terms of having a QR code in which we can register, so we're very proud of that, and certainly would take every opportunity as you see the QR codes around the district to go ahead and register for this Parents' Night Out. It is entitled Shatter the Myth about Alcohol and Other Drugs. So we look forward to that. There will be a light dinner, as we've done in previous, on last year, and looking forward to the attendance of our parents and our students in this first of the 22-23 Parents' Night Out. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Ms. Moore?
Is this done by Lexridge 5 employees, or are you partnering with somebody who's coming in professionally to be able to do this?
It will be a combination. This particular event will be a combination of the two. So there will be some district staff. In fact, some of our safety team will be a part of this. We want to bring them in, as well as some of our professional support persons. But there will be other professionals in the area that we partner with that will participate in not only this particular Parents' Night, but the others as well. Yeah.
Good. Any questions on that end? Ms. Hines? Okay, we're good.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
the child care being provided as well, so thank you so much. And I would like to end, members of the board, with, as you took a picture today, we held up our hashtag RD5Story. I think I was having this conversation with our executive team, that public institutions are under attack, whether it's police or schools, or we see this daily dose of drama and trauma around our public servants. They get up every day to do a mission, to do a calling, and sometimes you open up, whether it's social or mass media, you see only the negative of schools. But there is the truth is a much balanced story, a much positive story. If you had the opportunity to walk schools and to visit classrooms as we get that benefit, you would see a much different story from what is being told about what's going on in schools. It's amazing, just sitting in a kindergarten classroom, how your day can be transformed, walking through the hallways of a middle school and to hear the excitement, to see a pep rally at a high school and just be energized by what's going on. We count it a blessing to be able to see these stories, and so we're going to share those. If you got your feel of the daily dose of drama and trauma that is presented to us, and you need to see some balance, you follow our D5 story, and you can see firsthand some of the positive and welcoming things, the reason why people teach. Again, while public institution confidence are rated at an all-time low, in District 5, it's an all-time high, and we're really excited. And so follow us at our D5 story to see what's really going on in our schools, and you would count it not only a blessing, but just a privilege that our teachers and our staff have each and every day to work with these children. That's because we are joined by a vision of loving and growing our students, and I'm thankful for all of our staff that follows that mission each and every day for the students of School District 5 of Lexington and Richland counties. Madam Chair, that concludes the superintendent's report, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you. That's awesome. Lots of good things going on. Board members, anything I ask after each presentation, but anything you want to bring up? Okay, thank you, Dr. Ross. We appreciate all of that. Item 10 is approval of the minutes of the August 22nd, 2022 board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve that? Ms. Huddle.
I move that we approve the minutes of the August 22nd, 2022 board meeting.
Is there a second? Ms. Moore seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And Ms. Hines, are you with me? But it's still 6 and no opposed.
She has a hand.
Oh, she's got a hand, I'm sorry. Oh, I see you. Hey, I was looking at your R and I didn't see the hand. So that was 7 to none. Public participation is next, and I'd like to read my statement before we start. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. However, the privilege of addressing the board does not include the ability to make a personal attacks on any board member, district employee, or other member of the public. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and the decorum provided in Board Policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes and must remain on either the topic noted on your sign-in form or a listed agenda item. Questions asked during the public participation will be handled in accordance with Board Policy BEDH, and we do have a timer that you will be able to see. Ms. Taylor?
All right, Madam Chair, we have one participant tonight. That's Devin Hernandez of IRMO to speak about student credit requirements and board communication.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Devin Hernandez. Thank you all for letting me speak. I have 3 children out of my 5 that are in Lexridge 5, and we're very pleased with it so far. Though what I came to talk about was my son. He's a senior at Chapin High School, and I think some of you know I've been trying to communicate with a lot of you about what's going on. He made the new junior hockey team, the Columbia Infantry, but we were not aware that there's a 6-credit rule. So what I'm trying to find out is why that rule is when it's not a requirement to graduate. It's a PE class that he has to leave to go back to school to take PE when he's getting professional training. And I've been trying to communicate. I've gone through the principal, and I've spoken to many of you, and I'm trying to see what the reasoning is behind the requirement for the 3rd PE class of his high school career. So I'm not sure what the next step would be or how I would go about doing that. I just need to, it's starting to affect he's working part-time, he's in school full-time, it's affecting his mental, I'm not sure how to say it, but it's affecting him, and it's overwhelming to a teenager. So I'm trying to find out what I can do next about that.
Thank you.
So I don't know if someone will reach out to me or if I can.
Dr. Ross will definitely reach out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There are no others? Okay.